Greetings, fellow human, Missy here. And if you are feeling creatively stuck right now and you'd like some help figuring out why that might be and what you can do about it, then I made this video just for you. I know this channel is still really small, but if you are one of the very few people watching these videos, you might have noticed that there's been a very big gap since the last one and now. So where have I been? Life happened in so many big ways. Everything's okay now, but yeah, it's been a time. And the last two videos I made were all about going for a big goal. And one of the things that I spoke about in those is that life happens. And sometimes, even when we have this amazing goal set for ourselves, we can't always pursue that. Sometimes life just does put it on pause. It's not excuses. It's not any fault of our own. It just happens, and we have to press pause and accept that that's just a season of life that we're going through. So for me, that was consistently uploading on my YouTube channel, and I did get to the point again where I could go for that goal again. I could work on it again, but then I found myself creatively stuck, like paralyzed. And I've noticed this pattern in my life. I've noticed with creative things that I do get stuck. And I know from speaking to other people that a lot of other people feel this way as well. Even when there's nothing really big standing in the way of your creative goals, you just feel stuck. You feel like you just can't get going again or can't get going at all when you start something new. So I thought I would start my journey back into YouTube by making a video to help you and I get unstuck. And this is by no means an exhaustive list of ways to get unstuck creatively, but these are just patterns that I've noticed in my own life over the years and things that I want to implement and try, like new things. And I thought maybe one or two of them would work for you. So let's get creatively unstuck together. So for me personally, one of the biggest reasons that I get creatively stuck, and honestly stuck in a lot of other ways, is my phone. That is like the number one thing that gets in the way for me of creativity. And now don't get me wrong, phones are incredibly useful. There is just so much potential there in so many ways. You can use your phone for creativity, but there are just so many ways that it completely eats up your time and eats up your creative drive as well. And I'm not just talking phones, I am talking other technology, any device that's taking up your time and your attention. Now, for myself, I have noticed this, and I have heard a lot of other people speaking about this as well, that we are just so bombarded with information and entertainment on our phones constantly. And again, any electronic device that you engage with. And when you are constantly stuffing your brain full of things, when you're constantly consuming, there's no space for creativity. There's no space for thoughts to form and to flow and for you to create things out of those thoughts. There's no space for that. It's just crammed full of all this stuff. And again, phones and technology are not bad things. They can be harnessed. They can be used for creativity. But when they're getting in the way of that, when you can't spend a minute without some form of gathering information or entertainment from your devices or interacting with it in some way, that becomes a problem. That becomes a barrier towards creativity. Now, for me personally, I'm not even that invested in my phone, and even for the bit that I use it, it's still taking away. It's still too much. And how this looks for me is the traps that I fall into creatively is I will go and gather lots and lots of information, but actually never get going with something. And the other thing that I will do is, feel mentally tired and then think, oh, I'll just listen to this, or, I'll just look at this quickly, like a mental break, But the problem is it's not actually a mental break, because I realize I don't feel better afterwards, and I feel like nothing is forming in my brain. I'm not having my own thoughts. It's just all these things being fed in all the time. So that is how your phone and other technology overuse can really impact your creativity. Now, how I'm addressing this is I've gotten really tough on social media. Now, I wasn't a big social media user before, but I've deleted social media off my phone, except for YouTube, because that I like to listen to, while I'll switch the screen off and listen to someone speaking while I'm busy doing chores and things. So I'm pretty disciplined with that. But other social media use, I have curbed that because it's much harder for me to go and interact with social media on my computer. And I mean, mostly I just go and look for memes. I want to watch something funny. I want to watch a funny short. And it's harder to go and do that and to get lost in scrolling if I have to go and do it on my desktop PC. When I'm there, I'd rather do other things. So that just takes that away. I don't think about it anymore. And in those spaces where I used to just automatically reach for my phone, I used to just grab it and start scrolling to pass the time while the kettle boiled. Now my brain is busy. My brain is busy thinking thoughts and coming up with things and joining dots, making connections, and it just feels so much better. I feel more alive. So I think the takeaway from this is mindful use of your phone and technology. What helps me a lot is I ask myself, why am I doing this? Why am I looking at this? What exactly do I need from this? And sometimes the answer is a very valid one, and I continue because your phone can be a good thing. And the other question that's really helpful for me personally is I ask myself, what am I sacrificing to do this? And those two questions can really help you become more mindful about your phone and general technology use. What am I getting from this? Why am I doing it? And what am I sacrificing to do this? Practically, how you can make this much easier for yourself is you could try, like I did, just delete the apps that are distracting to you. Go through your phone and think, what am I getting from using this app? And what am I sacrificing by using this app? And do I really need this on my phone? And if that's too much of a commitment, or if you really do need those apps for whatever reason, you really need to have that on your phone. Maybe your business uses Facebook. You can set modes. Most phones have this option where you can sort of set the modes and choose which apps you're allowed to access when that mode is on. So it just makes it a little bit harder to have access to that app. You would then have to go and switch the mode off. And hopefully in that moment, that mindfulness would come in of, do I really need this app right now? My brain does not enjoy being bored, and I'm sure that your brain doesn't enjoy being bored either. But if you can push through the discomfort of those moments of boredom, those moments where you really want to grab for your phone and just scroll through Instagram and laugh at dog videos, if you can push through that and not do that, your brain is going to become so much more creative again because it's going to have to keep itself entertained. The second thing that gets in my way personally, creatively, is trying to create for everyone. Now, I went and thought about this and I thought some of the most impactful things, inspiring things that I have seen in my life weren't created for everyone. I might really, really enjoy them and someone else might be looking at me like, what on earth? I don't understand what you see in this, why you find this so inspiring or impactful. And I think that's a huge key to creativity is we are so afraid of people judging, of people not liking it or not liking us because of what we've created. But the thing is, everything isn't for everyone. Isn't that what makes the world wonderful? There are so many people in this world who like so many different things, and I think it's the most wonderful thing to find something inspiring that's inspiring to you and another group of people, and maybe not to someone else. You find something amazing in that. I honestly think that's one of the miracles of life, like a simple yet incredibly complex miracle all at the same time, that we find different things inspiring. Ask yourself if you are getting stuck trying to create for everyone, trying to make something that is likable to everyone, or are you trying to create something that is specifically for either you, something you want to create. So take everyone else out of the equation. Is it something you want to create? Or maybe it's something that you have someone in mind with, but maybe other people would like it too. So for instance, something I created recently was a panic and anxiety toolkit for my panic and anxiety support group. Now, that toolkit is for a very specific group of people, But with those people in mind, there might be other people who might find that incredibly useful as well. But if I had created it to please everyone, it wouldn't have been what it is. It wouldn't have been as specific and as targeted. What I'll do is I will link that for you in the description, just in case that might be useful to you as well. If you are maybe part of that specific group that would find that helpful. This video, for instance, as I said, is to help me get out of my creative slump, and maybe for other people who are in the same situation as me. It's not for everyone, but hopefully the people that it's for are going to be like, wow, this is really helpful. This is inspiring. Instead of creating for everyone and everyone being like, meh, pass, you know. I mean, what would you rather have? People being excited, people being inspired, and maybe some people being like, no, not for me. Or everyone just going, it's okay. A little brain hack that I use sometimes when I'm creating things, I used to create a lot of social media posts for my coaching practice. And for that, I would sometimes get a specific person in my mind and create something that I thought might speak to them. And it didn't matter. I wouldn't go and send it to the person specifically. I would just keep them in mind and think about them and think, what would this person maybe need to hear right now? What would inspire them? And it didn't matter if they never saw it, because there were so many other people that could see that and it might inspire them as well. So that's a little creative brain hack if you're feeling a little bit stuck. Either just create for yourself, or if that's not working, then create for a specific person. Have that person in mind and think, what would inspire them? This is something that I have to continuously let go of, and I hope that you'll join me in trying to let go of this idea, because it is so unrealistic. I mean, really think about it. Do you like everything that everybody creates that you've ever seen? It is the most unrealistic idea, and yet it's this wall to being creative, and we somehow just keep getting stuck behind that wall. So join me. Let's just start creating. Let's create because it's wonderful and we can, and it's for us. Maybe it's for someone specific or a specific group of people, but it's not for everyone, and that's okay. The next thing that I've noticed that gets me creatively stuck, and maybe it's the same for you, is any kind of friction in the creative process. So think through whatever you're doing, whatever creative thing you're busy doing, and think about where it feels sticky. Where does it feel like it just doesn't flow nicely? Now, like, I think for myself, when I'm creating, it doesn't matter what I'm doing, I need the materials to be accessible. Whatever I'm using, whatever I'm doing, I need everything to be in one place, because if I have to go around looking for things, or everything is not ready for me to use, then I immediately just, oh no, I'll do it later, I'll do it another day. It just completely breaks that flow of creativity. So if at all possible, and I know this isn't possible for everyone, but if you can have a space in your home where you do your specific creative project, maybe it's crochet, maybe it's sewing, maybe it's drawing, maybe it's painting, whatever it is, try if you can. I know, as I say, it's not an option for everyone. If you can have a dedicated space for that, where everything is organized. And if you can't have a dedicated space, try to put everything together, even if it's, maybe it's in a box or a crate or somewhere where you can just pull out that specific box, that crate, those places where you store things, and you can immediately start being creative. So thinking through the whole process, think about where else you're getting stuck. That's just the tools and the materials that you're going to need. But what else feels sticky? What else is stopping you as you go through, like, step 1, step 2, step 3 of whatever creative process you're busy with? Sometimes you need to make compromises. Like for me, I like to create all in one big go, and I can't do that. I have a toddler at the moment, I work from home. There is no way I can have big chunks of time, and I need to accept that. I need to accept that that's just not the way life looks right now, and I need to change my mindset. So that's also how the process can feel sticky, because before I would think, okay, step 1 is spend 3 hours doing this. And now step 1 has to be do little bits and get there when you get there. So again, that's just a mindset shift. You don't need to do anything to do that. You just need to notice where things feel sticky and figure out what mind shift you need to make. Something else for myself, just an example that felt sticky for me specifically in my YouTube creation process, was when I started out making videos, I bought myself a cheap little microphone just to get started and to see if I enjoyed making videos. And I realized going back to YouTube now that that was really just so off-putting for me. And I'm not saying you need to spend money to unstick your creativity, but if there is something that could make life so much better, not just a little bit, like I'm not talking little improvements, I'm talking like massive, then if you can afford it, get that thing. For me, I bought a really nice new mic that was affordable to me. And now, I don't know if you've noticed, if you've watched my other videos, but I can be so much more expressive because of my previous mic. If I spoke just too loudly, if I said anything just too enthusiastically, it was absolutely impossible to edit out all the sounds that came with that. I tried. I watched tutorials. I listened to experts, and everyone was like, you can't edit out that kind of stuff. So I have this fantastic new mic, and it made me so excited to create again. I couldn't wait to use my new mic and to edit and to not have to worry about the audio. So just think through that as well. And again, I'm not telling you to spend loads of money, but if something is going to drastically improve your creative process and you know that this is something you love, again, I'm not saying start out with a craft and buy everything. Start small and then see like what is going to improve things tenfold, 100-fold, and if you can afford that, do that, or otherwise save up for it. It's motivating even in that way. One last example for me that can make things sticky in my creative process is being too stubborn to ask for help, feeling like that would be a burden on other people. But the things people do, they want to help you. They want to see you succeed. The right people in your life. They want to see you succeed. And if you ask for help and you get that help, that can also help unstick your creative process. The next thing that I have learned that I need to watch out for, and maybe this is the same for you, is getting fixated on the outcome instead of actually immersing yourself in the whole creative process. We get so fixated on our idea or other people's idea of how something should look when it's done. And then we completely lose joy in the process. That's if we can even get going, because it becomes so terrifying to start. It becomes terrifying to continue because we're so fixated on, I want it to look like this, or other people's look like this, and I'm not going to be able to do that, so I can't even try. Now, remember that no matter how hard you try, no matter what you're doing creatively, the outcome is going to be what it is. And it's probably not going to be exactly what you had in your mind's eye. And that's okay. So why not have fun with it? Why not find a way to experiment and have fun every time you do something creative? Make it for you. Make it authentic to who you are. Bring your own perspective. Bring yourself into it. Because that brings the joy back to creating, and that takes those walls away. That helps you to get unstuck because it becomes exciting again. You ask yourself, what's next? What am I going to try? What am I going to do? Instead of, oh wow, I don't think the outcome is going to be good. I think I should just stop. For me personally, a good way to figure out if I am getting myself lost and immersed in the process instead of fixating on the outcome is how I feel afterwards. I love that feeling of being tired after being creative. Not burnt out, not exhausted, but just like that feeling when you've had a really good workout, but your mind feels that way, like, oh, I'm ready to rest now. I feel so fulfilled. I feel so good. That was amazing. Instead of, at the end of the creative process, feeling completely burnt out and like you don't want to do it again. There's a big difference. The one, you have a little rest and you actually can't wait to get started again. You're actually thinking about all the next ideas and the next things you want to do. Whereas the other one, you're like, I I never want to do that again, please. No, don't make me. So focusing on that, focusing on just enjoying the process, bringing yourself into it. The next one is really me calling myself out, and that is spending far too much time planning and preparing and not enough time doing. Now, I love planning. That is how I function in life, and that is not a bad thing. A plan is a really good thing, and doing your homework, doing your research, making sure that you understand what it is you're getting yourself into, or maybe you're improving what you're doing, that's all fantastic. But the problem is we get stuck there. I know for myself, I get very, very stuck there. Just an example from me recently, I decided that I would very much like to get into adult coloring, and that's despite being severely visually impaired. I was like, no, I want to do this. I've always wanted to do this. So I started doing research, and I researched, it was probably from sometime in January until about a month or two ago. It was probably about 3.5 months worth of research into adult coloring and the different types of markers and papers, and it became so overwhelming in the end. And I stopped myself and said, no, this is ridiculous. The reason I wanted to do it was to practice mindfulness, to get lost in a creative process without the need for anyone to see it or approve of it, or just to enjoy that process of creating and putting colors on a page, like physically. And I got so lost in the planning that, I completely lost the plot. So eventually, I just ordered myself a coloring book that got good reviews and some water-based markers, not a huge set, just an average size set. And I've been having such a wonderful time with it. It has been so relaxing and so calming, and it did help to watch videos about techniques and things, but I found my own techniques. I'm enjoying myself, and it's so nice to just get going and do something and see something you've created and just feel so proud of it. So the takeaway from this is do your planning, but decide when the planning will be enough, when you're going to start. Give yourself only so much time to gather information and do planning. And then even if you don't feel ready, because honestly, you're not going to feel ready. When do we feel ready to try something new? Or when do we feel ready to get back into something that, we got stuck with? Just choose that time and just go for it. And also make your plans. It's fantastic to have plans. It's fantastic to have goals. But remember that the odds are that those goals and plans are going to have to change. They're going to shift. Things evolve as you do them, especially creative projects. It's incredibly difficult to step for step plan a creative process, because creativity isn't something that works in a linear way usually. So be prepared for that and know that it's okay. It's okay to be flexible, and it's okay to move away from the plans that you made. The next thing that can get us really stuck creatively is comparison. And I feel like this one is very universal. A lot of people struggle with this. We are so quick to compare ourselves to other people. What are they doing? How does theirs look? Wow, they're so good at that. I can never do that. I'll never be that good. And as you know, comparison is the thief of joy, but it's also the thief of creativity, because we are measuring ourselves against other people. And sometimes we are measuring ourselves against, like, for example, maybe you want to get into painting and you're measuring yourself against Bob Ross. I mean, like, you haven't even started yet and you're measuring against somebody who's done, in his lifetime, I don't know how many paintings, hundreds. Someone who's just had so much practice and so much time to do those things as a career. And you will never improve your creativity if you don't start. As we said in the last point, like planning, gathering information, it's not doing. So you can only improve your creativity by doing. And then the second really important part is you need to figure out your unique creativity. What do you bring? How do you create? What is the you that's in this process? Because yes, we can try to copy someone else, but it's not going to be us. So know that it's okay to be a beginner in whatever you're creating. Everyone was a beginner at some point. Everyone had to start somewhere, and you are going to start where you start, and you are going to grow by doing, by learning, and by figuring out how to put yourself into what you create. Because again, as cliche as it is, there's only one of you. And when you are constantly looking around at what everyone else is doing, you end up putting yourself in a box. You end up not feeling safe enough to branch out, to try something new, to figure out new things that you can do with your creativity. Whereas if you stop doing that, you can take risks. You can try your own things, put your own spin on things. So if, like me, you do find yourself getting creatively stuck because of comparison, and there's that fear of not measuring up with someone else, then some questions that can really help you are, firstly, just ask yourself, why am I doing this? Why is this important to me? Why is this creativity important to me? And already there, that's going to give you some clarity, because the reason that you are doing something and the reason that someone else is doing something are probably vastly different, and that is going to change the outcome. And then ask yourself, instead of comparing, that doesn't mean we shouldn't look at anybody else's work, anybody's creative work. I mean, what would the point of that be? I mean, creativity is there to be shared and enjoyed. So continue, look at what other people are doing. But as you look at that, as you watch their process, as you see what they are creating, ask yourself, what can I be inspired by? So not what can I compare myself to, but what can I be inspired by? And already that makes a huge mind shift. That changes the way that we think. And then you can also ask yourself, once you've thought about what you can be inspired by, you can ask yourself, what can I transform? So transforming something doesn't mean copying something that somebody else did. It means being inspired by it and then taking something out of that, something that was like, wow, this really inspired me, and putting your own spin on it, putting your own twist on it, changing it, making it yours. And, obviously, if it's some kind of really big idea, credit the person. Acknowledge that that's where that seed of that idea came from, if you can. But honestly, in this world, we're constantly picking up ideas and inspiration from other people and transforming them and synthesizing all of these ideas that we see, all of this creativity, into something that is uniquely our own. Embrace that. The next thing that's a big one for me personally that gets me creatively stuck is feeling that I lack time and flow. So what I mean by flow state, if you don't know what that is getting into that zone, sitting down with whatever you're doing and getting so immersed in it that you don't even feel the passage of time. You look up and it's like 2 or 3 hours later and you were just so engrossed in what you were doing, so immersed in it, that time just flew by and you feel it's such a wonderful space to be in. It is so mindful because you are in that moment. You're not in the past, you're not in the future, you are just there with what you are doing. And for me, that is one of the nicest things about creativity. But yeah, at the moment in my life, as I said, that's just not possible most of the time. A flow state is not always possible. Life just happens. There are so many things demanding our attention, and some of them, it's not negotiable. You need to give your time and attention to that. So for me personally, as I said, I have a little toddler at home. She is so busy and so cute. She demands a lot of attention and time. I work from home and I have a teen who I also love spending time with, a husband. Life is full and it's busy, and I cannot get into a really good flow state at the moment, and I have had to make peace with that. One of the things that really helps me is to do a time audit. So thinking about what am I spending my time on and where can I allocate a little bit more time to my creative pursuits. So that's going to look different for everyone. But for me, like one of my big time audits was looking at my phone usage and realizing, too much time on Instagram. Another thing that I noticed with my own time audit was that I was getting stuck doing a whole bunch of arbitrary tasks that could actually wait, that weren't essential, that didn't actually need to be done immediately, if ever. And part of that was because I was feeling creatively stuck. So I was avoiding my creativity because of all these other things that I needed to think about and work through and revisit, because a lot of these are lessons that I've learned through the years. They're not new to me. But yeah, we need to hear them. We need to learn them again over and over. So yeah, a time audit. That's the first thing you can do. And the second thing that really helps me is, instead of thinking that I need big chunks of time to be creative, I think of it now in terms of little nibbles. So I take little nibbles of creativity when I can. So instead of thinking that I need to block out huge pieces of time to do whatever it is that I want to do creatively, I now try to, if I have a couple of minutes, if I have 10, 15 minutes, I will go and do a little bit. I will go and think a little bit. And even if I can't maybe be at my computer doing planning or writing or whatever I want to do, maybe I need to be outside watching my toddler, I can then use my phone mindfully and do some notes on there as she plays. So it's again just, it's a mind shift that I need to make, and I don't know, maybe that's helpful to you too. Another thing that helps me in terms of feeling like I lack flow and time is setting some arbitrary targets to reach. So with creativity, sometimes there's no pressing hurry, and that's why it sort of gets shoved to the bottom of the to-do list. Sometimes there is a pressing need to get it done quicker, but when there's not, it really helps to have a target. And if you don't reach that, it's not the end of the world, but it does give you something to aim for. It does give you a little bit of a sense of urgency, which sometimes can be a good thing, because creativity, I don't like to, I don't like to force it. But on the other hand, if I don't force it just a little bit, then sometimes I just get completely stuck and nothing happens. So that little bit of a target, that can really help. And also habits, having some habits that you put into your day. Like for me, I will brainstorm ideas while I'm busy exercising. And that's a habit that I can stack on top of another habit that I already have established. So that time is so wonderful to me, because while I am busy moving my body and feeling really good, I can also exercise my mind, exercise my creativity, and I don't have to think about doing it. I just remember, oh, when I exercise, I also exercise my mind. The last idea for this, to create a sense of flow, even if you don't have a long time, to get into a flow state a little bit quicker, because I know for a lot of us it can take a little while when you sit down to actually get into that state, is to have cues for that. So to have certain music that you put on when you want to be creative, when you want to get into a flow state. You can put that music on, you can light a scented candle, you can have certain lighting, whatever, anything for you that can work as a cue to help your brain get into that state of flow and concentration and creativity quicker. The last thing that I want to talk about that for me personally gets in the way of creativity is exhaustion. Now, life happens. Sometimes there is just so much going on. Sometimes things get really heavy. Sometimes they get hard. Sometimes they get challenging. And it is not impossible to create in survival mode. You can absolutely be creative in survival mode, but it is so much harder. You have to push so much harder for that. It takes so much more energy to do that, because you're already spending all of your energy on just surviving. So my thoughts on this are, for me personally, when life gets like that and I feel like I'm in survival mode, I switch over to a lot more taking care of myself, filling my own cup so that I can manage all of the things that are going on, and that I can be the best version of myself for the people who rely on me, who need me. And then creativity will often take a little bit of a backseat. I'm not saying completely stop creating, because being creative is part of taking care of yourself. It's part of filling your own cup. So if you are in survival mode and you're feeling like you're absolutely drained, you're exhausted, you cannot face anything creative, then accept that that's a season. It will pass, it's okay. And as soon as you are able to fill your cup enough to cope and feel like you have a little bit left over, then get back to those creative things, get back to those things that you love. And some things that are creative take more energy than others. For me, I know that even if I were in an absolute, crisis time in my life, absolute survival mode, having discovered, like I said, the adult coloring, that's a very low stakes, low effort creative hobby. You can do it for a few minutes and feel a lot calmer. So it's a grounding thing. So some of your creative pursuits may have to wait until you have more energy, until you have more to give. But others may be part of coping, if that makes sense. So just to find that balance, just to make sure that you are filling your cup enough to be creative, and that sometimes filling your cup means doing lower risk creative things. If you found this video helpful or interesting, then please feel free to like and subscribe so that you can see more from me. And if you would like to work with me as your life coach, there's a link in the description below. I turn warriors into warriors. Until next time, remember that you, fellow human, can create in a way that is completely unique to you, and that someone somewhere needs to find joy and inspiration and hope in what you create, even if that someone is yourself.